All right, we're going to break down the press handstand, the key positions you need to be able to put your body in, and how to strengthen those so you get this beautiful, elegant stacking press. We're also going to go into a few tendencies which people learning tend to slip into, which are preventing you from making progress. Now, the most important skill for the press is the ability to round your spine as you reach and wrap your shoulder blades overhead. Our natural tendency to arch the back as we reach the arms overhead simply isn't going to help us with the press handstand. But holding this position can be tricky, so we're going to learn it by breaking it down into two parts. So first, we're going to find the right ribcage position. Start with an extended back, take a deep breath in, and from here, as you exhale powerfully, drop the sternum down and back. This will take you into thoracic flexion, and from here you can take a deep breath in, keeping that position, and attempt to fill out the back ribs. Now try the same thing while reaching overhead. From thoracic extension, draw the sternum down and back into thoracic flexion, then reach up and away from the body as far as possible on the inhale. So if you feel like your spine's arching or you're getting tightness in your traps or neck, it's because you're probably just shrugging. Instead, wrap the shoulder blade around the ribs, showing your armpit as you reach up to the sky. If you're struggling to do this overhead, you might want to revisit the basics and make sure you can do it in a horizontal plank position. Look for the feeling of your armpits wrapping around your rib cage as you reach through the ground. You need to make a shape with your body that's conducive to lifting off, which means that your center of mass, which is somewhere around your lower belly or hips, has to be stacked over your base of support, which is your hands. And in between that, you need a shoulder which isn't going to collapse forward. If I only shrug my shoulders, it doesn't help me to round my back and stack my spine on top of my scapulae. But if I reach and wrap, then I can round my spine and stack each vertebra on top of the next. The more I try to reach from my underarms as well as from the tops of my shoulders, the less I feel the strain in my neck, and the more this feels like an integrated full body movement, which is exactly how it should be. So a lot of people think they have to insist on this shrugging of the shoulders when really you don't. You just have to find a strong position, which often feels a bit more broad. That's because instead of holding on to the concept of elevating just for the sake of it, I'm elongating and reaching my arms through the ground to get this tree trunk-like sensation, as if they were my legs. And this is one of my favorite drills to do that. You just rock your weight forward onto your hands and press straight through the floor. It's not that I'm trying to open my shoulders, I'm just trying to press down through the floor to lift my navel and my hips up away from the ground. It's important that if you notice the tendency for your ribs to flare or your shoulders to collapse here, that you reach and round even harder to draw your sternum towards your spine. This drill is going to help you gain the mobility and the control through your shoulder blades to access these positions. So reach as far as you can, and with a rounded thoracic spine, go from retraction or pinching the shoulder blades together to protraction or spreading them apart. If you've got tight lats, you'll notice it here. Now, the reason jumping is unhelpful is it encourages the pinched shoulder blade position, which then extends our spine and stops us compressing. Be sure to work on your hip mobility in the pancake position too, because the more you can fold, the less strength your shoulders need to have to achieve the press. If you're tight through your lower back, your fold will look more like this. And if you're tight through your upper back, your fold will look more like this. To get a good global fold, we need to be able to flex through each segment. Interestingly, the best way I've found to free up the spine and the hips is with side bending and rotation. Then using your breath to expand and contract beneath the tissues you're feeling the stretch in will help you to free up the fascia which connects your whole body like a web. So by changing the shape of your ribcage, you're also helping to free up the shoulders and the hips by kind of flossing that fascia between the sheaths of muscle. I like to spend around 5 minutes on each side before coming out into a nice twist. Feels like it helps reset my spine, and feeling this nice stretch from my sternum all the way across my shoulder really feels good. So let's break this down. If you need to, you can sit on a block or a cushion or just elevate your hips, but we start with the elbow on the knee and the other elbow stacked on top of that. Reaching down with one elbow and up with the other helps us to accentuate the side bend and really contract through one side of the obliques while lengthening and breathing into the skyward side. Stay at around a 6 out of 10 intensity and go deeper as it eases off. So next you want to reach under one knee and reach the other hand up to the sky. We're looking for a rotation by pulling across and also a side bend. I'm trying to get my shoulder inside of my right knee and get my head to touch down towards my shin. And I'm just going to limber up in this position, flossing the tissues, moving my head, moving my arms, breathing into anything that feels tight until I finally get to my deepest position. And I know I'm there because now I'm starting to feel my hamstrings and inner thighs rather than my torso restricting me. If you're not this flexible yet, then you could grab a strap, grab a partner, grab something in space that isn't your toe, and then start to rotate chest towards floor and then chest towards sky to really stretch that lat to finish off. After about 5 minutes of this in each direction, you can start folding forward. But before we dive into these static, active and passive holds, we're going to focus on moving the hips, because by moving the bones, we're going to have to learn our anatomy, and learning our anatomy is essential in understanding how to create the space required to fold deeply into the pancake position. Everyone's hips are built slightly differently, and especially especially with guys, if you just try to jam yourself into a deep stretch without the right degree of joint rotation and positioning, then you may well experience hip impingement or pain at some stage as you push things further. I've had surgeries, labral tears, and osteoarthritis in both hips, but by approaching mobility with some patience and the intent to learn about my body rather than force it, I found I've had really good results, and I also don't have any pain. If you want to make the most rapid progress, become a stickler for detail. Notice how internal or external rotation of the hips provides you with more or less joint space. Once you've created more joint space, you can work on pulling yourself into the stretch by holding your feet or a strap, and equally you can reach into the stretch, which starts to replicate the press posture. We're taking a multi-joint approach here, so we also want to be able to work with knee extension into that deep active pancake position, because it's by approaching these positions in all kinds of different ways with different joints driving the motion that you learn about your body and develop the kind of fluid, supple strength that makes handstands so attractive. If you really take your time with these basics and you learn to enjoy your process, then more advanced skills like the stalder press will become available to you. And not only that, but if you're enjoying the whole journey, then when you achieve those skills, there'll be expressions of your newfound freedom and attunement to your body. And that's what it's all about.